Welcome to the Tough Decisions Network for Entrepreneurs. I'm Dan Handford, and my wife, Dennae, and I interview successful people sharing stories behind tough decisions that they've had to make along their journey as an entrepreneur.
With us on the podcast today is Natasha Nurse. She is the founder of Dressing Room 8. We're very excited to have her on with us today. Natasha, tell us what Dressing Room 8 does and explain where your current focus is right now as an entrepreneur.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you for having me on the show. Dressing Room 8 is really a creation of my heart. I'm sure you've checked into my bio. I do a lot. I actually started my career as an attorney. And like so many other attorneys in New York, when I got out, there wasn't a lot of space when the financial crisis hit. And I had to kind of make essentially a tough decision with my career and decide what I was going to do. And so I ended up going down a non-traditional path, which led me into kind of educational legal sales and all of that good stuff. And then from there, that led to the journey of me wanting to create a coaching and consulting business that would be primarily focusing on women entrepreneurs, women creatives, women in startup who are trying to build a business around something they love. They're trying to grow a business through use of social media, through events, through media like podcasting or writing magazines and things like that. And primarily I spend my time empowering women to just kind of be innovative in their business, be innovative in how they're approaching their life, and just kind of be fearless. I think a lot of us are held back by things like fear or worry or family constraints, and a lot of that doesn't have to be the case. And my biggest focus as an entrepreneur right now would be probably just growing my media presence. I am the lifestyle editor for Plus Model Magazine. I started a podcast that's separate from my Dressing Room 8 platform, which has been phenomenal since it's a creative venture with my husband and kind of allows me to explore creative juices that I didn't know were stirring inside. And then also just writing on various platforms. I contribute to the Muse. I have had an article in Fast Company, Inc., all of that good stuff.
That's really exciting to kind of see how you transitioned from, going into that attorney space and then, pivoting and doing the Dressing Room 8 and the various things that you've explained there. So it sounds to me like you might even, that one of your tough decisions, like you said earlier, was making that transition. Would you say that that was a really good, positive outcome with that tough decision, or would you say it was not so good?
I would say probably the best decision in my life was when it was actually made for me when I was at a company, the company that I was last at in December of 2015, that led to them saying, they're doing reduction 30% across the country. You have to kind of, we love you, but you got to go kind of thing. And that really stirred up a fire inside of me. And it said, okay, well, Natasha, are you going to go and try to just get another job? Because everyone, you have to get a job, right? Or are you going to build something? And I decided I wanted to build something. I had started the blog. I was talking about fashion as being a tool that women can use for their professional careers, for personal empowerment. And that's started everything. I then started pitching brands to want to work with them and create content with them. I layered in coaching because that was a service that I had offered informally in my career up until that point, because people usually break down around me and tell me all their secrets and their juicy nuggets. And I'm there to kind of help them be like, no, we don't have to feel like there's no other way, that we can do this, that we can problem solve, and that everything you have inside of you is already there to help you live the life that you need, right? It's just about finding maybe networking, access or funding or, whatever, but you can create the life that you want for yourself. So yeah, I would say the tough decision of becoming an entrepreneurship was definitely the best outcome for my life, because it allowed me to be more authentically true with what I want and not being told like, no, you can't, that's too creative, or we don't do things this way. I think corporate America is great in that there's structure and there's regimen and there's a foundation, but sometimes that can also be very stifling. And if you're the kind of person who's a little bit more out of the box, it's just not going to work. And I didn't know that about myself because come from a Caribbean background. And if you know anything about Caribbean culture, a lot of us are told, you come to they sacrifice, they got you here in America. So now you have to be a doctor, a lawyer, a nurse, right? Like you have to be a professional. And if you don't, then like, what's wrong with you? And, I had to go against that. And I had to say, you know what? Yes, I did my thing. I'm a lawyer, but you know what? I think I want to be a bit more creative. I want to be a bit more innovative in how I approach my career as a journey, because it's a journey. It's not a destination.
What advice would you offer someone who is maybe in a professional career like you were and has been trying to decide whether, they are more this creative type person and needing to go out on their own or stay where they are?
I would say you need to sit down with yourself, right? Whether this is a weekend, whether this is a day, whether this is a week, give yourself time for you and really think about what is the true cost of not living the life that you want for yourself, right? So there's a lot of people who sacrifice 10, 15, 20 years of their life being a doctor, being a lawyer, being an architect, being an engineer. But what is the true cost? Do you wake up every day hating your life? Are you in a relationship that maybe isn't making you really happy and fulfilled in your life? Do your children see the results of your unhappiness and your dismay with what your life has become, right? What is the biggest cost of not being happy? And I think that, a lot of times people will say, well, I have to do this because I have to pay my student loans. You don't have to do anything. You're choosing to do everything that you want. I think that people put the onus on the universe and other things instead of owning the decisions they're making every single day. And by being unhappy, you're deciding that for yourself, because I'm not saying it's easy to just like, oh, I'm just going to go and start a new company, but you can explore things, right? You can dabble, you can maybe start as a side hustle and grow that. And maybe you want to invest, right? There are different avenues to explore different parts of what you want in life, but it's up to you to decide if you're going to be open for that. And if you're going to make the decision and get the education and do what you need to do to be authentically you in this world.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that thought process of, if you're in a W-2 position right now or, a position where you're working for somebody else and you want to try to get out, start that side hustle. There's nothing wrong with doing that. You try to get that extra income to be able to make that transition a little bit easier for you and then to build up those reserves before you make that tough decision. I want you, Natasha, to talk to us next about a tough decision that maybe didn't have that good of an outcome and some of the lessons you learned through that. I actually like to call it the sore thumb tough decision. It kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. Whenever you think about, business decisions, that one always comes up in your mind about, oh yeah, that's a decision that I made and I really didn't have that good of an outcome. But you know what? I learned a lot through it.
Mm-hmm. I would say the biggest sore thumb tough decision that had a bad outcome that I dealt with would probably be when you are starting a business, you sometimes can be in this place of desperation, right? Like, I got to make money. I'm starting this, right? People are looking at what I'm doing. I got to, all these expectations that, again, we hold ourselves up to, but ultimately, it can lead to bad outcomes by bringing on clients maybe that are more encompassing than you thought that they would be, or they're more needy than you have the time for. And then it creates a scenario where you're working 18, 19, 20, 21 hours a day. And it doesn't have to be that way, right? That if you were more selective, if you're in a client servicing business, right? And I am, right? So I do social media, or I'll do web content, or I'll do coaching, and all in onus of growing businesses and business development, business strategy. And I would say that earlier on, and I'm still early, but I would say in the beginning, it was all about like bringing on, building up that client roster list. And I would say probably one of the baddest decisions was just saying, like, oh, I think I can do this. But if I had listened to myself even more, knowing, you know what, yes, I could work with you, but I know that you're going to call me every day. You're going to demand meetings that are going to be an hour and a half. You're going to want to have to always meet in person. You're going to, all these demands, right? What is the true cost of saying yes? Right. And sometimes you have to say no, even if there's money flashing in front of you, because the bigger cost could be something like your health. And I would say that recently I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism, which is having an underactive thyroid gland, right? And it's linked to so many different situations that happen in your body, dealing with fatigue, dealing with stiffness, joint issues, having, irregular bleeding stuff, like your thyroid is like super important actually. And maybe not going to the doctor enough and not getting diagnosed and not dealing with this I would say by not being more strategic with my time, it made me have less time in my schedule, and it made me not prioritize my health, which ultimately makes work harder in and of itself. So I would say that you have to be mindful of who you're working with, whether product or service, but especially with service. You are your brand, and if you don't act like time is the most important, valuable asset you have, you will sadly waste it and lose it. And then it will make everything you're doing that much more harder. And it can even become less enjoyable. And that you don't want to be in that place, because again, this is a voluntary journey you're on, right? Entrepreneurship. So make it fun, make it enjoyable, make it a learning lesson each and every day, but it shouldn't be killing you. And I know that there's sometimes a sentiment out there that's like, oh, you're an entrepreneur, you're a hustler, you got to work 25 hours a day. A, there's 24. B, you can actually work yourself into the ground where then you have to take 3 months off because you've done so much and you can't move. Doesn't make any sense, right? This is a marathon, not a sprint. Have some patience, be strategic, and be mindful and very conscientious of when you say yes and when you need to say no.
Sure. That's so important because it is such a difficult balance to find. I think it's a difficult balance for everybody because of the culture that we live in, and we have so many things pulling at us. But I think it's especially difficult for entrepreneurs because of all of the factors you sort of talked about there. We are hustling. We are trying to make a living on our own. We want to serve people, but you're right. What is the cost of how we spend our time? And sometimes it can be a lot more expensive than we really want to pay, but we don't stop to think about that until we've already cost ourselves all that. So there's some really good thoughts there. Share with us some strategies that you like to use when you are facing a tough decision.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So I'm a Virgo. I'm giving you all my information. So I'm a Virgo. I'm obsessed with organization. I'm obsessed with checklists. That's just like how my mind thinks. And so usually my advice, if you go on my blog, you'll just see a bunch of different questions and checklists. And ultimately, it comes down to asking yourself a series of questions. First, what do I want out of this situation, out of this relationship, out of this conversation, right? What is my purpose, right? We always have to work from a place of a clear purpose, because lack of clarity results in a lack of kind of mixed results of what you're going to get. So always be clear, always be purposeful. So what do I want to happen out of this situation? What is the, most logical way that this can happen, right? And do I need to do this over the phone? Do I need to do this in person? Do I need to involve other people? What are all the cost logistics, like figuring out what is the logistics of what I'm doing? And then also, is this in line with my messaging? Is this in line with my platform? You can say yes to a lot of stuff, but if it doesn't work for you, if it's not making you more money, if it's not building more relationships, if you're not growing from it, then why are you doing it? Right? There has to be a regimen as to which things fall with under. So that's kind of like where you have to be your own mini corporation, right? To think about, because that's what a corporation is going to do, right? Sprite and Coke, they're not going to just say like, yeah, to anything. Like, no, there has to be legitimate reasons for why we do what we do. And then think about the consequences or some of the, maybe the downside of saying yes, right? Just so you're aware, right? Not to say that it will happen, but if you're saying, oh, well, this person, maybe they're in another country, and so it's always going to mean you have to work with them at 2 a.m. Is this something that you can do? If it's a great thing and you feel like you can do it and it's a 2-week situation, okay. But if this is a 6-month endeavor, meaning you'll have no sleep for 6 months, what is the big cost of me doing this, right? So just doing a pro-con analysis. People love to do the SWOT analysis, really just being as analytical as possible. And then again, if you do have mentors, if you are surrounded by a supportive tribe, run this by people that you feel you can kind of bounce your ideas off of. For me, that's definitely like my husband. He's my rock and soul. And so, even if it's, I'll just quick minute, sidebar, let's chat about something, and then move forward and be firm in your decision, right? So whether you say yes, whether you say no, no regrets, move with it, because everything's meant to be, right? And so if you were meant to say yes, you would say yes. If you're meant to say no, you'll say no.
All right, we are talking with Natasha Nurse. We're going to take a quick break and hear from one of our show sponsors. When we come back, we're going to talk to her about some of her favorite things as it relates to her life as an entrepreneur.
Have you ever thought about investing in real estate, but find yourself so busy that you don't have time for it? Do you have FOMO, which is the fear of missing out? At HandfordCapital.com, we help investors with passive real estate investments that project better returns than traditional investment vehicles such as the stock market. If you'd like to find out more about our passive real estate investments, visit HandfordCapital.com. That's HANDFORD capital.com. We will jump on a call with you to discuss your investment goals and to see if our investments are a good fit for you. This advertisement is not to be construed as an offer or recommendation to buy or sell a security. Visit HandfordCapital.com. And we are back with Natasha Nurse, and we're going through a series of quick questions and answers that we like to call the trifecta. And I want you to start us off, Natasha, and tell us, what is your most favorite technology that you use in business every day that helps make your life easier as an entrepreneur?
Oh, yeah. I think for me, that would be my Google Calendar. I like calendar everything. And I just love Google. Like, I send them love every day. I'm like, I love you, Google. Because whether it's me researching something for content that I'm putting together, or it's like using their calendar function, I live by my Google Calendar. I share my calendar with people and they're like, hey, I want to see you. Check my Google Calendar. You can see when I'm available, because I don't even know my life. I'm like, you have to consult with Google. So I would say Google Calendar makes my life easiest. And of course, social media and being able to schedule things on Facebook has been super, super helpful for me as well.
What's a favorite quote that you've heard that's helped you as an entrepreneur?
I would say my favorite quote generally is, and as an entrepreneur, probably Nike, just do it. I think that people rationalize excuses. They come up with all sorts of things why they can't do something, why they need to do something. Just do it, right? Stop thinking, just go out and act. It's real simple. It's 3 words. Anyone can remember it. Just do it.
I like that. I know Dan likes that because we deal and talk to a lot of people that, they can come up with an excuse for anything and everything. But you're right. At some point, you just have to do it if you're going to do it, and put all the excuses. What's a favorite book that's helped you make better decisions as an entrepreneur?
I would say there's a couple there. So first, I love The Secret, Rhonda Byrne's, right? That's a just great book. Then also, I don't know if you're familiar with Dan Norris. He has some really great content out there. He has a book called Create or Hate that was really like mind-blowing for me when it came to how mindset, right? Thinking about, a lot of people love to be in a space of judgment, but it's like, again, are you on this earth to create or are you here to hate, right? Because it's super easy to talk about other people and how they're not doing something, how they're not successful, but like, why not stay in your lane? Why not create instead of talking crap about other people? Stay in your lane, create or hate, figure out where you want to be. And then also he has another really good book called Content Machine. And I found that to be very helpful for me thinking about the type of content that I'm creating. And, everyone is out here trying to, I need viral content, right? But what makes something viral? What makes something shareable, likable? Content Machine by Dan Norris is a really great eye opener for that.
And we'll make sure that for our listeners, we'll put in some links to those books in our show notes, which can be found at toughdecisions.net. And Natasha, how can the listeners reach out to you after listening to this episode if they want to contact you or start to follow you more or visit the Dressing Room 8 program that you have as well?
Fantastic. Yeah. So they can definitely go to the website, dressingroom8.com. They can also email me, Natasha@dressingroom8.com. Facebook.com/DR8Fashion, Instagram.com/ dressing_room_the number 8. But just go to the website, dressingroom8.com, and you will find me and all my different platforms and all the content. And I really love talking. I think one of my life motto is to learn something new and to meet someone new every single day. So please feel free to just if you're just stopping by to say hi, if you're like, hey, what do you think about this? I love conversations because it really forces us as human beings to learn and experience other people's narratives and to grow. And I think that that's really one of the biggest purposes of why we're here.
I like that. Learn something new every day and meet somebody new every day. I love that. It's a great thing to have for everybody who's listening to do as well and have a goal every single day. Natasha, I really do appreciate you taking some time out of your schedule to be with us here today on the podcast. Look forward to following you and look forward to having you on a future episode as you continue to grow as an entrepreneur.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I loved speaking with you, and I appreciate everyone hearing my story. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Tough Decisions Network. Be sure to visit toughdecisions.net to gain access to show notes for this episode and to join our free weekly entrepreneur email where we will send you news about the latest technology for your business, inspiring quotes, and the latest books for entrepreneurs. That's toughdecisions.net.